Hey guys, so welcome to class for this week. Hope everyone is doing well. We're going to do a couple of videos this week. The first one's going to be fairly short. It is going to be kind of a continuation of thunderstorms before we get into tornadoes. Because the one thing that we didn't cover with thunderstorms is hail. We covered thunderstorms, we covered lightning, but we did not cover hail. So just very briefly, we're going to go over that. And I did send you a PowerPoint presentation through Moodle, so just kind of follow along with that as we talk about hail for a couple of minutes. So hail is essentially just ice crystals. And you'll notice on your PowerPoint that the main thing with hail is how many times it goes up and down within the cloud, because we've talked about, when we talked about thunderstorms, how we have updrafts that go into the thunderstorm and then downdrafts that bring all of the rain out of it. Well, that's outside the thunderstorm. But within the thunderstorm itself, there are also updrafts and downdrafts. And the more powerful the thunderstorm, the more powerful and the more opportunities hail has to go up and down. The more of these updrafts and the more of these downdrafts there are. So essentially what happens is it just starts off as an ice crystal, and as it goes up into the cloud, it freezes. Eventually it's going to get caught in a downdraft and it's going to come down, and when it comes back down, it melts just a little bit. Goes back up, refreezes, come back down, and the outer edge melts again. Goes back up, comes back down, and it does that a couple of times. Eventually, however, that hail gets so large that gravity just can't hold it up anymore, and neither can the updrafts, and eventually it falls to the ground. So if you find a perfectly round, or not even round, but if you find a very nice hailstone, what you can do is actually cut it open very carefully, and inside there will be rings, kind of like when you cut down a tree and you see the rings on the tree. You can count the rings, and that's how old the tree is. With the hailstone, if you count the rings, because as it goes up and comes down and melts, it kind of leaves a little bit of a milky color every time it melts. So those are the different rings. So if you count the rings, then you know how many times that hailstone went up and down within that cloud. The next picture is just kind of a slide of just some fairly large hailstones. Most of the time, hail is anywhere from different sizes, and in order to kind of make it more easier for people to understand at home, rather than saying, oh, this hail is 2 inches in diameter or 3 inches or a quarter of an inch, a lot of times people can't visualize that in their head. So we use things that are a little bit more common. It's penny size hail, nickel size hail, hail that's the size of a ping pong ball, a golf ball, tennis ball size hail. Then it even gets into baseball size and even grapefruit size hail. That's pretty much the largest. That's about 4 inches in diameter. So very, very large hail. We typically don't see large hail here in Louisiana because it's just too warm. That hail melts by the time it hits the ground, or at least a lot of the outer edges have melted. You see the larger hail in places like the Northern Plains and also some of the Rocky Mountain states as well. In fact, Wyoming is actually the state that sees the most hailstorms throughout the entire year. And one reason they have that is because they're already in the mountains, so they're already elevated. So there's not as much distance in between the ground and that cloud, so the hail that forms, it doesn't have as much time to melt in between the cloud and also the ground. So we tend to, at least in Louisiana, see hail around penny, nickel size, dime size hail, very, very small hail. That being said, however, every now and then conditions just come together properly that we see some very, very large hail storms. The next picture that you'll look at on your PowerPoint is actually a picture taken from Bunkie a couple of years ago. A huge hailstorm hit Bunkie, middle of the night. There were no other storms around, just perfect conditions, and pretty much pummeled the entire town. And this picture is of the siding of a house that was just destroyed. Also, the windows have all been broken out. And then the next picture is a picture of a car, and you'll notice that the fiberglass on the outside completely destroyed, the windows completely destroyed. All in all, hail causes several millions of dollars worth of damage every year, especially to crops. It'll beat the crops down. So a lot of times farmers have to have insurance against that kind of thing, and also just cars, windows, that kind of thing being damaged as well. So just a little brief moment of hail right there that I did want to talk about. So that's going to be the end of this video, and when I come back we will be talking about tornadoes. Thanks.